Yo, what's up, guys? We're back and we're here for another UFC breakdown and predictions video. This week it's going to be for Rob Font versus Marlon Vera in the main event, and the rest of the card is all right. There's some okay fights throughout the card, but just right before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the channel, Cash Flow MMA, and yeah, they're some of the best handicappers in the game as well. They're doing a great job, and right now they're offering a free trial from now until May 31st for you to go check them out. If you just go to cashflowmma.com, check out their website, you can join with the promo code MMA Guru when you register, and if you do that, you can get free bets until May 31st. And recently they've been doing really well. I mean, you could see here they've been winning quite often recently, and you could see some of the bets that they placed for last week's show. For instance, they had a bet on Jordan Wright and Marc-Andre Barriault to not go to decision. That was correct. And they also had a bet on Claudio Puelles that ended up being correct as well. They have a little bit of a breakdown here for you guys to read if you're interested in that when you make the bets. Also, they had a parlay for Bellator 278 and 279 that came through with Danny Sabatello and Rafion Stotts. And they also hit on a PFL parlay. So they were perfect last week, and yeah, they did a great job. So go on over there, check it out, cashflowmma.com. You could sign up for free with the promo code that I have. So yeah, check it out. You can get free access for a while, see if you like it. If it's not for you, you could always cancel and get your money back, but they're doing a great job right now. They're making you some money, and I think if you go over there and check them out, you'll probably end up becoming a member full-time to their website. So big ups to cashflowmma.com. They're doing a great thing for the MMA community and really recommend you check them out. I am going to have the link in the description if you want to check out the website from there. But we're going to get into the breakdowns here, and just make sure to hit the like button. Let's try to get over 150 likes on this video. I'd really appreciate that. Last week we were a little bit low on the likes, so I know you guys can do a lot better than what we did last week. I got the video out a lot later last week, and I'm going to be trying to get it out a lot sooner. Obviously, this video is going to be coming out on a Monday, so hopefully you guys appreciate that as well. And yeah, just hit the like button for me, put a comment down below, tell me what you think of my picks, who's going to win, and everything like that. So I am going to be doing something as well for this week. So what I want to do is, if you tell me who you think is going to win the main event, how you think they're going to win the main event, so the method and who you think is going to win, along with the amount of significant strikes landed by both fighters combined, then I will give you free access to my Patreon picks and Patreon videos for next week. So that will include a PFL content, Bellator content. So that's a fun little package for you guys. If you want to get involved, put down in the comments, like I said, who you think is going to win the main event, how you think they're going to win the main event, and combined between the two fighters, how many significant strikes do you think will be landed. So let me know what you think about that, and you could end up getting free picks for next week. So we're going to get into this first fight of the night, though. We got Tatsuro Tairo. He's going to be taking on Carlos Candelario. Two fighters, they're going to be making their UFC debuts here. Tatsuro Tairo, this is going to be his first fight outside of Japan. And that's something that a lot of Asian fighters do struggle with, is when they first come over to the United States, they tend to not really do well with the traveling and accommodating to everything. But Tyra so far in his career has been perfect. He's 19-0. He was 10-0 as a pro so far. He was 9-0 as an amateur. And he's a counter striker, pretty good footwork, and he'll bounce around on the outside. He has good inside-outside leg kicks. He likes to look for the counter too and try to time the takedown. And almost all of his opponents I've seen him in there with, Tyra was significantly taller than them. And in this fight, he's going to be the shorter fighter. So that's another thing that he's going to have to adjust to. I'm going to be curious to see how he handles that. I don't think Tyra has really fought that high level of competition yet either. His opponents really don't offer much against him in the stand-up. I think leg kicks are something that Carlos Candelario could throw. I think just being active, pressuring, throwing combinations, trying to back up Tyra, not give him that chance to be pretty counter, I think will be effective against him. But Tyra has good accuracy on his rear hand. He connects clean, and he's shown power. I've seen him freeze guys, make him very defensive after he lands a couple times. And he's the most dangerous on the ground. He has good control. He's very active. He has good ground and pound. He's a really good back taker. And he has a great body triangle. He'll ride guys out. He has good front chokes. He has good arm bars, triangles from full mount. He has, a few kind of unorthodox submission wins on his record. So he's a guy that on the ground you have to be very careful because he throws up submissions, and some submissions he has are unorthodox. He's very long, so if he gets the back, gets that body triangle in, probably going to have your back for that whole round. And he's aggressive trying to finish the fight. So just on the ground, you have to be very careful with the guy like Tatsuro Tairo. But one thing about him that I do think is going to make him struggle unless he improves at this higher level is he doesn't really have a takedown game. So he more relies on either dropping his opponent and getting on top or having them overextend. He can kind of jump on the back in a scramble, but he doesn't have that high-end ability to shoot in on a takedown, to get the clinch and get guys down. So it's going to be interesting to see at this higher level now that he's fighting guys that probably aren't going to make as many mistakes as the opponents that he's been facing. He's fighting fighters that are a little bit more his size. I think he's fighting a lot of Asian guys, and a lot of them were 5'2", 5'3", real small, and he was towering over them and had big advantages on the ground with his length and on the feet with his counters. I don't necessarily know if he's going to have that in a lot of his fights in the United States. And in this fight, he obviously doesn't have that reach advantage. And Carlos Candelario, he's a boxer, wrestler. Stand-up is okay. He'll switch stances. He's aggressive. But he's a bit limited because he doesn't have the fastest feet, and sometimes he could struggle to get into range. But he has a good counter too. He has a good left hook. In close range, he will put his hands together and throw better combinations, in my opinion, than Tyra. I think he's a little bit better hands. And his head movement is pretty good. He does a good job of trying to get fighters to believe that he's going to pick and pull with his pull counters and then level changing. And he has some pretty good calf kicks. I think that's going to be something that he's going to use a lot in this fight. I think he will try to mix in some body kicks, some head kicks, and he's a fairly decent kicker as well. And he's a good wrestler. He does a good job pressuring with his boxing, punching his way into the body lock, good single leg. On top, he has heavy control. He likes to stay tight from half guard. In this fight, I think he'll be his best bet because he can go to work with his elbows, not have much fear of that free-flowing movement of Tyra from the half guard as much as he does if he tries to progress to mount or tries to go to side control or something where there could be a scramble. I think just sitting in the full guard or sitting in half guard, even better, because full guard, there is still some things Tyra could do. I think if he sits in half guard, stays tight, throws ground and pounds, he could end up having a lot of success on the ground. And he does do a good job riding opponents, and he pushes the pace. He tries to weaponize his cardio. I did see him slow down a little bit in his last fight against Victor Altamirano, who's known for his cardio as well, and he's also a long, rangy guy. But Candelario has a few submission wins, but mainly he's a grinder. He tries to, break you and get the decision win. This fight's difficult to cap. I think that on the feet, Tyro might be the superior striker with the better footwork and movement. He's a little faster, but I'm curious to see how he deals with taking those leg kicks or being pressured, and if he can handle the boxing combinations and the pull counters of Candelario on the inside. Tyra is a really good jiu-jitsu guy, and I've seen him work really well from the top position, but I think that Candelario is actually the better wrestler, and I think that he could get on top and control the position, grind out Tyra, and Tyra could be a little bit too confident in his submission game potentially and lose that fight. I mean, ultimately, I was leaning towards picking Tatsuro Tairo just maybe to catch a counter and maybe get like a submission off of Carlos Panic Wrestling or something after he hurts him. I do think he's maybe a little bit better striker, but the line is crazy, man. I mean, they got Tyra as almost a 3-1 favorite, and I think that a 22-year-old kid making his first trip to the United States from Japan, which, like I said earlier in the breakdown, a lot of Asian fighters have difficulty when they first travel, and just in general, traveling from Asia to the United States and competing at the same level that they do over there in Asia. And, that along with it being his first UFC fight, there's a lot of things for Tatsuro Tairo that I think are going to put him out of his comfort zone. And also, I think Candelario is significantly better and a lot bigger than a lot of the recent opponents that Tyra has fought. I also believe that Candelario is going to be very hungry coming in off that loss on the Contender Series that most people felt he deserved to win. So I think that he's going to come and look a little bit better as well. He had a long layoff and he had only one fight prior to the Contender Series fight. Now he has had that fight as well, and he's a little bit more in the swing of things. I think he'll look a little bit better than he did even in his Contender Series fight. And yeah, I think there's a lot of value on Candelario, so that's why I'm going to end up picking him by decision to get the win here, get the upset over Tatsuro Tairo. And continuing through the card here, we got a women's matchup with Gina Mazany taking on Shanna Young. And Shayna Young, she's a striker. She has a wrestling background, but it hasn't really translated very well to her fight career. She mainly just tries to use that up jab, the left hook, the overhand right, and she will throw a lot of lead leg side kicks. She likes the jab, overhand right. Her footwork looks like she is working on it and trying to improve it, but she's still a little bit choppy, slow, plotty. Isn't really the most dangerous striker. She's not a great wrestler for MMA. Her takedown defense is not very good. She's been taken down several times in all of her UFC and Contender Series fights. Off her back, Young can be hard to take down early. She likes to attack leg locks, and she's a decent scrambler. But she tends to get tired, and she'll start to get static in scramble position. She'll give her back, and she has been submitted in 2 of her recent losses. She also got finished with ground and pound in her last fight. So obviously, Young on her back has proven to not be the best. She has a tendency, like I said, to try to attack for leg locks, which gives fighters chances to land heavy ground and pound and take her back. And I haven't seen Young too effective with their offensive wrestling. She did hit a whizzer kick against Macy Chiasson and got on top. She wasn't able to control her. In her fight with Maiju Suetama, which was her last win, she was able to defend some takedowns, break down her opponent, and get on top that way. And she is probably the most effective in the top position. She has good transitions, good ground and pound, good control. She's pretty big and strong for 125. And I do expect her to have a little bit of a better performance than her last fight, because in her last fight, she was coming off a very recent pregnancy. She was fighting up at 135 pounds. She probably is going to be in a little bit better shape, a little bit farther removed from the pregnancy, and probably have a little bit better training camp. And I think she'll probably show a little bit better performance. Cardio-wise, she pushes a high pace, but I don't think she necessarily paces herself the best. She doesn't sustain her pace over 15 minutes very well. Her opponent, Gina Mazany, she's a southpaw wrestler, mainly a grinder, and she's big for the weight class. She used to fight at 35s as well. She basically wants to use her boxing and close the gap, get in the clinch, maul fighters, get the body locks, and get on top, control. She has good ground and pound. And, one thing about Mazany, though, is she does, in the clinch and just in general, seem a little bit weak to the body. So that's something that Young I think needs to try to attack. Body kicks, try to attack with knees to the body in the clinch and things like that. And maybe you could get Mazany out of there, who has been finished a couple times with body shots. Mazany did get a nice little front kick, body kick finish herself against Rachel Ostovich, though. And I do think that since going to Glory, she's been a little bit more confident in herself. But her last fight, once again, kind of the same issues happened, where she gassed herself out going for the wrestling, and she wasn't able to hold down her opponent effectively, and eventually she got tired and got finished with strikes. That was against Priscilla Cachoeira, who's a girl that is notorious for having great cardio, being durable, and packing some power in her punches. So I do think that's a tougher matchup than the matchup she has now with Shanna Young. With Shanna Young, I think she's going to be able to get the takedowns. I think she'll be able to defend the leg attacks. And I think she could take the back, potentially finish as well if she could posture and get in a good position on Young. On the feet, I think it's 50-50. But I don't see Young being able to stop Mazany from getting on top. Mazany has had issues with gassing, but Shanna Young isn't going to close the gap with throw heaters. And, I don't think that she has great cardio herself for 3 rounds. So I think Mazany will have an easier time implementing her game plan, controlling. I think Young will start to accept bottom position a lot more than Cachoeira did as the fight extends. Young maybe could catch a leg lock or get Mazany tired and get on top and finish her, but this is definitely Mazany's fight to lose. Mazany isn't a girl that you can necessarily trust at, a high clip, in my opinion, but I think she's the superior fighter in this fight. And I see her either getting a decision win by grinding it out or getting into a position where she could posture and ended up finishing with ground and pound. So I'm going to go with Gina Mazany, the slight favorite, to get back in the win column here. So continuing through this card, we have Mike Breeden taking on Natan Levy, 2 guys trying to pick up their first UFC wins. Natan Levy, he's big, athletic. He's pretty big for the weight class. He used to fight at 145 where he was a huge guy. Now he's settled into the 155-pound weight class. In this fight, I expect him to try to kick and move, counter with the crosses, and then time the takedowns. He's explosive. He has fast level changes, run through his doubles well. Seen him pick guys up, get nice slams. And on top, he has good control. He transitions very effectively. He has good ground and pound. He's strong, scrambles effectively. He has a decent submission game. And for Mike Breeden, he's a guy that is a striker. He has good footwork and he has good kicks. He'll switch stances, good hand combinations. He has loose hands. He'll throw pretty solid combos behind his jab. He has a good right hook. He has a good left cross. And, he has nice leaping shots. Like he'll leap in with the right hand, leap in with the left hook. And he'll put together some nice combinations on the inside, pretty good body shots. And you'll throw that trademark front knee up the middle that a lot of glory guys throw. And calf kicks. He has good round kicks to the body. Pressure fighter. He likes to pressure to the clinch, push fighters against the cage. But very limited head movement. His last fight, he got pressured, stuck in the pocket, looked for counters, and got blasted out of there by Alexander Hernandez. Doesn't check leg kicks, which I think is going to be a big issue for him in this fight with Natan Levy. And I don't think Breeden really possesses top-end power in his hands, so fighters are willing to eat his shots and counter him and get him out of there. He's been finished by strikes twice. And Breeden has a bad habit of, just sitting in the pocket and wanting to trade with these guys, slip and rip, and, maybe try to roll with punches. But when you're facing guys that throw super heat, like Hernandez, it wasn't a good decision and he got, taken out. But Breeden has solid anti-grappling, good balance, pretty good takedown defense overall. When he gets taken down, he does have good scrambling ability. He could jump right back to his feet. And I've seen him do a good job of getting guys that want to wrestle him tired and then taking over the fight late. And, this fight, I think that Natan Levy has a lot of advantages, though. I think that on the feet, he's faster. I think that he has better footwork, a lot better movement. I think he has better defense, better kicks. I think he's going to be blasting the body kicks, blasting the leg kicks. I think he's going to be landing those counter crosses. I think he's going to be trying to mix in the takedowns. I think he'll be successful with a few takedowns. And I just feel like he's the better fighter in comparison to Mike Breeden. I think he could get the knockout as well. Breeden, very defensively irresponsible in my opinion. Breeden is going to be trying to gas out Levy, get on the inside and use his hand combos. Natan is a karate guy. He has decent hands, but in the pocket, he isn't as good. He doesn't have the best head movement. Sometimes he could drop his hands a little bit. And he does like to fight with his hands down quite a bit. So that's where Breeden could potentially land some nice combos, maybe rip the body and maybe start to get Natan a little bit tired and then pressure him and be able to get in the pocket more and let off combinations. But I don't necessarily see that happening. I think that Natan is going to do the job, do the business here. And, there's been a lot of Glory MMA versus Syndicate matchups recently. And Syndicate's been, getting the better end of the stick in a lot of the matchups. So I think that just a lot of Glory guys, they strike similarly. And, James Cross has similar game plans, things like that. So I think that's also a factor that could play in the benefit for Levy. So I think Natan Levy is going to go in there and get the victory, get his first UFC win. And this should be a fun fight, this next one. It definitely should be a banger. It should be a striking fight. Or maybe not even necessarily a striking fight. It could go up and down, but it should be a banger of a fight. It should be entertaining for sure. We got two guys that are very aggressive and they fight hard. Yohan Lainesse, he's heavy-handed. He's a striker. He has a hands-down kind of wide stance. He has good in and out movement. He likes to pressure and then lean back counter with the check hook or the straight right. He has a good jab, real stiff. He'll throw big looping shots, so he can kind of catch you behind the head or kind of catch you in or around your guard. Big uppercuts, overhands. He can get super wild and wide, but just makes him very dangerous as well. And his long, lengthy ranginess, it works for him. He has the 3-inch reach advantage, and even though he's pulling back and his chin is available, he has that, kind of pushing with the length, and he's also throwing heat. So, sometimes guys are a little bit scared to close that distance and really commit. And, sometimes he can lean back, slip your shot, and land that big pull counter and be effective. So it also makes him hittable. And, I do think that he's a guy that eventually will get knocked out brutally in a fight, and he's a killer be killed type of guy. But it it makes him why he's a good fighter. But his fight with Evan Cutts, he did a great job attacking the body. He forced the stoppage with the body shots, which I think is something that he needs to do more often because he could sometimes get stuck head hunting. And I think if he rips the body, it'll open up the wild head shots that he throws that much more. And he does throw some decent leg kicks, and he will go high with his kicks. I've seen him throw flying knees. So he has some danger factor about him with the lower legs as well. His last fight, he got clipped himself in the pocket, but he hung in there, landed that counter left hook, and showed why he's entertaining. He knocked Justin Burlinson unconscious. He was a huge underdog in that fight, and that was a big win for him. Cardio-wise, I do question Lainesse's cardio. He slows down in the second and third round. He is tough, and he fights through fatigue, but you could definitely tell that he gets tired. I'm not too sure about the grappling of Lainesse. I haven't seen many opponents really attack with many takedowns against him. He does seem to have a decent clinch game. I've seen him, get put on his back against Troy Green a couple times, but didn't really have a guy that had great top control, and he was able to scramble back up to his feet pretty quickly. And I've seen him hit some double legs. It seems like he has good timing on it. I've seen him get close on some rear naked chokes. He shows some good control. And submission defense against Justin Burlinson. He took him down early. But I don't necessarily think he's going to want to try to wrestle with Gabe Green. I think that grappling would be a mistake because Gabe Green is a superior grappler and is superior cardio. I think he needs to try to bomb him out of there and just use that wild striking style. Gabe Green, he's a durable, well-rounded fighter. Got his first UFC win in his last fight, so his confidence is probably high. He is good on the feet. He has good defense. In some fights, like his last fight, I think he wanted to get Figueiredo to throw at him so he could clinch and get the takedowns. And he had his hands completely down. He was absorbing shots and showed a great chin. So that's good to see that he has a great chin. But if you watch this fight with Daniel Rodriguez, showed a really good high guard, hands high, good lateral movement. And I think he needs to go back to that in this fight. Be smart. Don't brawl with this guy with huge power that lets things go. Keep your hands high. And show that really good defense. He has good head movement as well. He switches stances, so he's tricky. And he likes that left kick quite a bit. He'll throw the rear leg kicks to the body from southpaw, front leg kicks to the body from orthodox. His leg kicks were super effective in his last fight. He'll mix in some high kicks, good knees. He's willing to eat punches to close the distance, and good 1-2 of his own. And he does a good job just kind of like slipping shots or even absorbing shots on the gloves and just coming back with combinations, staying real high volume, trying to get in the pocket and exchange. And he'll roll with punches in return. He tries to push a really wild pace. And he's good at ripping to the body, coming back up to the head. I think his body shots are going to be super effective in slowing down Yohan Lainesse in this fight. And Green likes to make fighters throw at him, catch their punches, like I said, and get them tired that way as well. So he is also a mauler. He'll clinch them up. He'll tie guys up in the clinch and land dirty boxing combinations. He has pretty good grappling. He doesn't have like elite wrestling, but he can get guys down against the cage. And on top, he has good ground and pound. He has good control, has that 10th planet style. And he did struggle with the jab with Daniel Rodriguez, and that's a strike that Yohan is good with. But Daniel Rodriguez has elite cardio, and he threw a ton of volume. And I don't necessarily think that Yohan's going to be able to push as high a pace and keep as high a pace on Gabe Green. I think both fighters are going to be looking for leg kicks. And early the fight is definitely going to be wild. Green's the type of dude that's going to push the pace and really pressure heavy. Lainesse is going to open up with the big shots and try to get the finish. And I expect him to land some jabs, some uppercuts, some leg kicks, and try to get Green emotional, try to get him to brawl. I think Green's going to stay calm, patient, though. I think he's going to fight smart, use effective pressure, uses good defense, attack the body, attack the legs. Plans to get Yohan more and more tired, and I think he's going to pick up the pace late. Lainesse is a dog. He's not going to be easy to finish, so I could see him gassing and then surviving to the bell, but I could see him being so tired that he gets finished as well. But Green, he's very durable, so I do think that's a good thing on his end. If Lainesse lands some big punches early or almost gets him out of there and Green survives, I think he can get him tired that way as well. So I think Green's either going to get him out of there late by Yohan tired or at least get the decision. I don't see him getting bombed out of there. Like I said, he's a superior cardio. I think his pressure, his body shots with tax on Yohan. And I think he can really start to take over in the second and third round. Lainesse is a wild card. He's very tough. He's confident. He can crack. But I don't think he's going to find the knockout in this one. And I think Gabe Green's going to hand him his first professional loss. And we got a flyweight fight up next with Daniel Da Silva taking on Francisco Figueiredo. And Daniel Da Silva, he was unsuccessful in his UFC debut, so he's looking to get his first UFC win here. And he uses a wide bladed stance. He's fast, he's athletic, he has good in and out movement, nice kicks. He closes the gap quickly, and good 1-2s, nice jab, overhands, pretty good high kicks, good spin kicks. I haven't really seen him strike for extended periods of time, though. I feel like his striking style is more predicated on athleticism, on explosiveness, on being faster than his opponent, being more powerful, being more aggressive. And I think that against superior strikers, he probably is not going to be able to strike for extended periods of time against them. I think the flashy strikes won't be necessarily as effective at the higher level, and I think it will get him tired. We saw in his last fight, he got dropped though in a kick and punching range, and then he got finished with ground and pound. Da Silva's game plan is mainly to bounce in and out until he can time that level change into the takedown. He has pretty good wrestling. He has good singles, good doubles. His last fight, he was able to use the double to circle to the back and jump on the back from standing. And he had Molina in a little bit of trouble with the armbar, but eventually Molina was able to, scramble, get back on top, showed good ground and pound, and he was able to stay safe from inside of Da Silva's guard. Da Silva's a guy that will accept bottom position and look for submissions, and it's been successful for him on the regional scene level, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be successful for him as he continues to progress through the UFC level. Cardio-wise, Da Silva so far in his career has been a kind of first-round or bust type of fighter. His last fight with Jeff Molina, he started hot, but he got tired, got finished in the second round. And I haven't really seen a lot of fights online of Da Silva either, so he is a bit of an unknown. But one thing I didn't really like about his last fight is it seemed like he got hurt by Jeff Molina and kind of looked for the way out. He curled up, he gave his back, and let Molina pound him out. So I feel like showed a little bit of quit in that fight, which is not something that I like to see. But he's a young, dangerous guy. He trains out of ATS team, and that's the team that Alex Cowboy trains out of. So they have a lot of guys that kind of have a crazy type of style. So that's the style that he brings to the cage. Kill or be killed, and he's fun to watch. Francisco Figueiredo, he's a low volume counter striker. He's 1-1 in 2 UFC fights, and he's fought kind of bottom of the barrel competition. He got the win over Jerome Rivera. He lost to Malcolm Gordon. Experience-wise, though, he has a lot more experience. He has not a ton more fights necessarily, but he's gone in longer fights. I think he's fought better competition. He's fought 5-round title fights, and he needs to use that in this fight here, extend the fight, and try to get Lacerda a little bit tired. Figueiredo, he holds his hands low and basically just looks to move, use his footwork, counter with the rear hand, the 1-2. He has good counter crosses. He'll throw front kicks. He'll throw the rear leg high kicks and leg kicks, but he doesn't really have that top end speed. So sometimes fighters can just close the distance, land, and get out before Francisco goes to counter. And he doesn't throw a lot of volume, so he can be out volumed and defeated by decision due to that. In Figueiredo, he has solid takedown defense. He showed a good top game in his last fight against Malcolm Gordon, who has a dangerous guard, able to control, nullify the submission game of Gordon in the first round. And he did make a lot of mistakes, though. Like, he went for a leg lock near the end of the first round, and that ended up losing him the position. He was on his back for the last minute of the round. Went for a flying knee early in the third, put him on his back, and Gordon held him down for over 2 minutes to begin the round, which basically won him the fight. And in this fight, he needs to worry about just controlling, wearing on the gas tank of Da Silva when he gets on top. I do think takedowns could be a smart game plan for Francisco, and he does have decent level changes, good body locks, and he can control on top pretty effectively. Pretty good scrambler, good submission defense. He is a black belt. He had a lot of submission wins early in his career, but none in a while. He's more just control guy. He hasn't been submitted since 2012. So this is a close fight. I mean, originally I was going to pick Da Silva, but I flipped my pick after, watching a little bit more, and I'm going to go with Figueiredo. I think on the feet early on, Da Silva could be effective with some kicks, some blitzes. But eventually I think Figueiredo is going to start to get the read, and I think he's the superior striker. I think he'll start to be able to counter with the the rear cross, sniper shots, some front kicks, some leg kicks. I think he'll be able to get some takedowns. And I think Figueiredo has good enough takedown defense to stuff a lot of takedowns from Da Silva. Even if he gets taken down early, I don't think he's going to be submitted. And I think in the later rounds, he can control position, get the better of the striking, I think Da Silva could get tired, and I think even if he starts to get takedowns in the later rounds, he could lose position and let Figueiredo control him from the top position. Daniel, being a submission over position guy, losing position a lot, liking to be on his back. I think in the UFC, he's just getting in a little bit more seasoning. And even though Francisco Figueiredo, a lot of people are down on him, I'm sure almost everyone and their mother is going to be picking Daniel Da Silva. I'm going to go with the veteran here, and I think he's going to just show that Da Silva maybe is a little bit too green for the UFC. And up next here, we have a fight between two veterans in the middleweight division. And this is a fight that I kind of feel is going to be really a boring fight. But Gerald Meerschaert, he's a guy that has had a lot of fun fights in the UFC. He has the record for the most submission wins in the history of the middleweight division, I believe. And he also might have, pretty close to the record for the most upset wins. I mean, the guy just tends to get it done as the underdog quite often. And recently, he's been getting the job done as the underdog very efficiently. I mean, he got that win over Makhmud Muradov when he was a huge underdog. And it seems like he thrives better in that position than being the favorite. Like his last fight, he was the favorite against Dustin Stolfus and looked like he was very close to having his 2-fight winning streak snap, but found that finish late in the third round. So, I mean, both these guys, we kind of know what they do. Krzystof Jotko, he's coming off a victory as well where he won yet another decision over Misha Serkinov that kind of helped him get back on track because he did lose to Sean Strickland before that, but he has won 5 of his last 6 fights, and he's been in the UFC for a long time. He has done really well in the UFC, but both these guys kind of have been fighters that have been able to beat a lot of guys. They've been able to beat some good names as well, but they haven't been able to crack that top 15. They're kind of sitting right outside, like top 25, top 30, and the winner of this matchup is going to get another chance to jump in there with the higher level opponent and see if they could finally get the job done. But, ultimately, I feel like Gerald Meerschaert, he's a pressure fighter. He more flat-footed, more uses boxing and that big left kick and decent hand combos, but very slow guy. He doesn't really have the fastest feet, and he doesn't have the best takedowns either. So a lot of his fights, he's the one that gets taken down, and then he's able to sweep and get on top and go to work. And he does sometimes shoot some decent doubles. He has some okay body locks and things like that. But he's more of an opportunistic submission guy. And, I mean, the guy, if you get on the ground with him, you have to be very careful. But we have seen fighters take him down and control him and, be able to win decisions that way. And Krzystof Jotko, I feel like, is just a better all-around fighter. On the feet, I think Jotko has faster feet and better movement. He throws kicks. He throws a little bit more variation, even though he's a point fighter. He, has that ability to just stick and move and be very effective. And I think that's going to give Meerschaert a lot of trouble. I think Meerschaert's going to really struggle to track him down. Being in the small cage, it does help GM3, but I just think Jotko is the better wrestler as well. I think he's better in the clinch. I think he has the better takedown game. And even though I think GM3 is the better jiu-jitsu guy, he's more dangerous, I think Krzystof Jotko is a good jiu-jitsu guy himself. He's a black belt. He's proven that he has real good control on top, and he's fought some elite grapplers like Thales Leitis and other guys. He's been able to stymie their sweeps on bottom, control them, and win by taking them down and holding them down. And I think GM3 has very lackluster takedown defense, so I think that Jotko is going to look to get a couple takedowns and, be able to control the position and grind it out. I don't think Meerschaert's going to submit Jotko off his back. I don't think Meerschaert is going to be able to sweep him. And I just feel like Jotko is better on the feet. I think he's going to be better on the ground too. I think he's going to be able to control, and I don't think Meerschaert's going to be able to do much. So I got Krzystof Jotko in this one, picking up the win by decision. And in this next one, we have a fun grappling fight between Darren Elkins and Tristan Connelly. Tristan Connelly, he's making his return after quite a long layoff, and he's a tough fighter. I mean, he's durable. He comes in good shape. He has good jiu-jitsu. Outside of that, I don't think he's really anything spectacular. On the feet, he likes to pressure. He'll cut the cage off. He'll put together some okay boxing combos, but doesn't have great speed. He doesn't have great power. He doesn't throw a lot of kicks, and he has bad defense. Even though he's durable, he can walk through damage and keep pressuring. He's hittable. Pat Sabatini dropped him in the first round. Michel Pereira kind of just gave him the win by doing a lot of flips and that craziness early on, got tired. But that's how he defeated Michel Pereira, by walking through damage and then breaking him. And he was able to have his best round in the third round against Pat Sabatini as well. So his cardio and just kind of probably will to win, his mindset is probably his best asset in there. I don't really think Connelly is the best wrestler. Offensively, he doesn't set his takedowns up very well. He isn't really high level at finishing them. Takedown defense isn't very good, and he has been taken out several times in both of his UFC fights. He is fairly effective in the clinch. He has decent body locks. He was able to hit a takedown against Sabatini in the third round. And his jiu-jitsu is good. That's probably the best part of his game. He has good guillotines. He'll jump guillotine. And when he can get on top, he has good back takes. He has quite a few rear naked chokes. He'll try to sweep with the deep half guard. He has some submissions from full guard. His last fight, he showed good defense from the back round. He was able to survive basically 3 rounds with Pat Sabatini on his back. He couldn't really get back to his feet or have much meaningful offense on the ground in that fight. And his guard got past pretty easily. Whenever he tried to get back up, he exposed his back, and Pat Sabatini just took the back seamlessly. Against Darren Elkins, he won't have to worry about someone who's going to latch on the body triangle and dominate from the back well, but he's still going to have to worry about getting back returned and getting gassed out by giving his back and trying to get up, getting his wrist trapped, getting grounded, pounded. I don't really think Connelly can take down Elkins. I mean, I think that Elkins is a clearly superior wrestler, and I feel like Elkins is going to be looking to get the takedown and go to Pound Town in this one. But Connelly, he hasn't been active. He hasn't fought in over a year once again. And just throughout his whole career, he hasn't fought very active. Having just been dominated by a wrestler and then being matched with the Makwan Amirkhani for his next fight that didn't materialize, you do have to imagine that he's been getting some hard wrestling camps in. And against Darren Elkins, I mean, everyone knows what Elkins wants to do. That's take down Connelly and rough him up. So we'll see if Connelly has improved enough to stop that from happening. But Darren Elkins, he's a fighter we've seen fight for years now. And Elkins, he doesn't have to deal with someone who's super fast, powerful, or dangerous in this one. Connelly isn't that dynamic. He isn't really hard to find either. So Elkins won't have to worry about much to defend. I don't think he's going to have to worry about a big knockout threat. And I think Elkins on the feet actually is going to have the speed and footwork advantage for once. He's going to be looking to move forward, land his jab, 1-2, the overhand right, then level change, get the double. And I think he can hit the takedowns pretty easily in this fight, to be honest. He doesn't have to worry about the guillotine, and Connelly does have a submission threat, but I mean, I don't think Elkins is going to get submitted by Tristan Connelly. The only person that he's ever been submitted by in his entire career is Charles do Bronx Oliveira, and Elkins is just proven against some really good jiu-jitsu guys that he can just nullify their game, control them, break them down with the ground and pound, and more importantly, he does not get tired. I think that Connelly will be able to get up to his feet a few times by giving his back, because he doesn't have to worry about the submission threat as much, or a guy getting the hooks in and taking his back. But I don't think that he's going to be able to do much on the feet against Elkins. I don't think that he's going to be able to stop the takedown. So I think Elkins can just end up taking him down again. And Elkins isn't going to get tired, man. So I think that Connelly's best asset of his cardio isn't going to really come into play greatly in this fight. So, I mean, one thing too is Connelly's 36 years old as well. So even though he has had a layoff, he knows what he has to improve, I don't necessarily see him coming in here and having a much improved takedown defense or wrestling game or anything like that. He's going to be what he is. So I think Darren Elkins, even though, maybe some people think he's done from his last fight with Cub Swanson where he got pounded out of there, got finished in the first round. I just think that's a bad stylistic matchup. Cub's a great striker, very fast mover, hard to take down. Connelly is not those things. So I think that Darren the Damage Elkins is going to be able to go in there and pick up the dub. And this next fight, we got a battle of 2 grapplers. We have Jared Gordon, who's kind of surging right now, 3 wins in a row. And he's taking on Grant Dawson, who's a guy that just had his first career, not his first career setback, I guess. He had a draw, but he had already had a loss before that. But first career setback in the UFC in a way. A lot of people thought he was going to run through Rick Glenn. He's a guy that some people thought at one point was a future UFC contender and things like that for the belt. And now I think his stock has went way down, but he could bounce right back with the win here if he could dominate and, get right back on the radar for a lot of people. So it's a big time fight for both guys. If Jared Gordon wins, it's kind of going to put him at a different level in the division, in my opinion. Grant Dawson wins, he's going to move kind of right back to where he was before the loss to Rick Glenn. And, in Jared Gordon's last fight, I actually bet on him as the underdog against Joe Selecki, and it was another grappler, and he was able to pick up the win with his, he had superior cardio and striking. He was able to actually get on top at one point and start to, control in that realm, and I feel like he ended up just being the better fighter all around. He's more experienced and proved that, but against Grant Dawson, I think it's going to be a lot tougher, man. I think Grant Dawson is going to be taller and rangier than him, and I think that's going to give him issues. I think even though Grant Dawson's striking, to me, is kind of putrid, he does throw some, nice front kicks. He'll throw some 1-2s to jab. He kind of has that Philly shell defense, and he's willing to take shots to give shots, and he'll throw some big knees up the middle. But I think he's just going to be able to get the takedowns in this fight. I really do. I mean, Jared Gordon has good takedown defense, but I don't think he has elite takedown defense. And he struggles against long grapplers. Like we saw his fight with Dan Moret. He struggled quite a bit in that fight. And I don't think Dan Moret is nearly on the same level as Grant Dawson. I think that Grant Dawson is going to be able to get Jared Gordon to expose his back and get the body triangle. And I think he'll be able to control the position from that. And I think he'll be able to win quite easily. I don't think that Jared Gordon has that same ability to strike and be long rangy and kind of dangerous for Grant Dawson on the feet that Rick Glenn had. And I think that Jared Gordon, his path to victory is the pressure wrestle or pressure box. And both those things are going to get you in the clinch. They're going to get you in close distance with Grant Dawson where he could land a single. And I think Grant Dawson's going to come in even better shape than he has in recent fights. I mean, he has to know that he gassed out and looked horrible off his back in the third round. So that's the one spot where Jared Gordon is a live underdog here. I mean, if he can get on top and Grant Dawson's tired, we've seen before Grant Dawson kind of can wilt. And he's super tough. He has that will to win. I don't think he's going to quit, but he can kind of get tired. And then Jared Gordon could really go to work and land some big shots, kind of sway the judges. So that's the path to victory for Gordon. I mean, he has to be able to either stuff the takedown, stay in his face, and box him up, which I don't think is going to be a high likelihood of happening, or going to have to win the grappling, maybe scramble on top, or get some takedowns of his own, get on top, and exploit that bad game off bottom for Grant Dawson. But at the end of the day, I think Grant Dawson is just going to prove to be a superior athlete, superior grappler. I think he's going to be a little too big for Jared Gordon. I think he's going to be able to use his length to take the back or get in dominant positions on the ground and control fairly well. And I think he'll be able to pick up the decision win. So Grant Dawson is the pick for me. And in this next fight, man, I'm excited for this one. If you guys are fans of the channel, you know that I've been a fan of Andre Fili for a while now. I really like how the guy fights. He's super dynamic. I mean, great counter striker. He's one of the best counter strikers in the division. Just elite striking to me. I mean, the guy is super calm, composed in there. He's extremely experienced at this point and just has really nice counter 1-2s, counter high kicks. He has excellent footwork, elite speed. His last fight, he looked awesome, man. I mean, he was countering Daniel Pineda with ease. He was moving around and defending a lot of the takedowns. The one thing that Pineda had a lot of success with were the leg kicks, and that's something that he's going to have to address in this fight because Joanderson Brito is going to be banging them legs. That's going to be something that Brito's going to be looking for. And Fili, he's also very skilled in the grappling realm, but wrestling has always been something that's been a little bit of a negative for him. Like, he has good offensive wrestling. His timing on his double is really excellent. And he can get on top of control guys, ride them out. I think in this fight with Joanderson Brito, maybe he will time a takedown or two and get on top, just slow that forward pressure from Brito. But he has had issues himself with getting taken down, getting grinded out, getting held down. And even though he steadily improved that throughout his career, we saw against Bryce Mitchell that it still failed him in that fight. He got held down and couldn't do anything about it. And yeah, I mean, this fight to me is going to be fun because it's basically Andre Fili is an elite level counter striker, very mobile, long rangey mover that wants guys to be aggressive and come at him. And Joanderson Brito, he brings that shootbox style to a T, man. I mean, the guy just comes forward with heavy bombs, those big wide shots, heavy leg kicks. The leg kicks are going to be what he's going to be really most effective with, in my opinion, in this fight on the feet. Use the leg kicks, try to chop Fili down, get him to stand in the pocket with you and exchange bombs. And that's where Brito will have a chance to land that big kill shot. But Fili's showing a great chin, great composure in the pocket, pull counters. And I think on the feet, Anderson Brito is in a lot of danger. I mean, I think that he opened himself up to be countered heavy. And you don't want to be countered heavy by a guy like Fili. You don't want to be opening yourself up to a guy like Fili. And I think stand-up wise, if it continues over 15 minutes, Fili has a big chance to get a real sweet knockout with something cool. But Joanderson Brito is going to be looking to mix in the takedowns as well. He has okay wrestling and grappling. I don't think it's necessarily elite. And yeah, I mean, I feel like Fili is going to be able to defend a lot of takedowns or scramble back up to his feet when he gets taken down, kind of how Bill Algeo did in their fight. And I think it's Andre Fili and Algeo are similar fighters in a way where they like to counter. They like to be on the back foot. They're good scramblers. They're hard to hold down. They have decent offensive grappling. But if you give these guys, I think Bill Algeo said it perfect in his post-fight. He's like, if you keep giving me aggressive strikers that can't really grapple that well, yeah, we could get some wins and we could do some fun fights. I think that's the same thing with Andre Fili. You're giving him a aggressive striker and Joanderson Brito that can't grapple that well. And I think Andre Fili is going to take advantage of that and either get the knockout or get a real dominant decision with some knockdowns and show some real good offensive striking. I feel like Brito, the guy's real enhanced. I mean, I don't know, USADA's probably knocking on his door every day, but man, he's probably going to be hard to knock out. But I think Fili's going to get the job done here, and I think he's going to look real good. And in the co-main event, we got, the continuation of the Andrei Arlovski tour. It's like they're going to see how many of these guys right outside the top 15 he can pick off, and now they're giving him Jake Collier, and Arlovski jumping on short notice for this one, so hopefully he's been in the gym training in shape. I mean, I don't think he would take a fight if he wasn't, so I think Arlovski, he's been staying real disciplined now. He's older, and I think he wants to kind of try to stay in the gym and maximize the time that he has left, so I do expect him to be on point. Jake Collier, he was expecting to fight Justin Tafa, who's a way different opponent. He's shorter, he throws heaters, he isn't close to as experienced, he isn't close to as good. I think it was a way easier matchup for Jake Collier. Now facing Andrei Arlovski, I mean, it's going to be a close fight once again. I mean, every Arlovski fight is either a split decision or a real close UD, so that's just how Arlovski fights. And Collier, he's done well since moving up to heavyweight, actually. I mean, he's been able to get some decent wins, and I actually thought he should have got the win over Carlos Felipe as well. He's a guy that likes to, pressure, decent hand combinations, decent hand speed, good jab. He throws some nice body kicks, some high kicks, and, he's kind of skilled. He's a skilled guy for heavyweight, decent boxing, you throw some combos. But I feel like he's not going to be as willing to be in the pocket with Arlovski. Arlovski's faster with his feet, even though he's the bigger, lifelong heavyweight. And I just feel like Arlovski is going to get this, kind of like Arlovski decision again with the counters, kind of being active with the jab and mixing in some spins, mixing in some clinch control time. I don't necessarily think that Collier is going to be able to take down Andre like he did Chase Sherman and hit a submission on him or anything like that. But maybe, if he mixes in the grappling, that could provide some, things that Andre isn't ready for. But I just feel like Andre, it's hard to pick against him against a guy like Jake Collier. He's a legend, and I think he's going to be able to just kind of win with his striking style, get the little bit of the edge. But, I mean, it's not a fight that I'm super confident either way on. I feel like, eventually Andre is going to lose one of these type of fights. It's going to be close, and he's going to be on the wrong end of the decision. So, could it be this one? I mean, there's a chance, but I am going to go with the Andrei Arlovski by decision. And this main event, this should be an amazing fight, man. I mean, Rob Font versus Marlon Vera. Both these guys are two of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, if you ask me. I mean, Rob Font, he's the guy that had that long winning streak snapped in his last fight where he dropped that decision to Jose Aldo. But if you watch that fight, I mean, fuck, man, he gave Aldo hell, bro. He fucked up his eye. He had him in some real bad shape. I mean, he was landing some real nice combos. And, he mainly just lost that fight because he just got hit with big shots. He couldn't take the power. And even though he had the better of the striking over 5 rounds, like he landed the more volume and probably, the better combinations, the better shots. Like, if you're looking at it, like, he landed more good shots in every round probably, but he was getting dropped, and he also ended up on his back and controlled after getting dropped in certain rounds, and that's what swayed the fight for Jose Aldo. And Marlon Vera, he's a guy that also had a decision loss to Aldo in a 3-round fight, but then he was able to bounce back recently, get 2 wins in a row. His last fight, he got a huge win where he knocked out Frankie Edgar with a front kick in the 3rd round. And now he's getting a chance to be in his first main event, first 5-round fight. He's been calling for this 5-round action for years now. He's a guy that, pushes the pace, pushes that cardio. And now he's going to get a chance to break someone over 5 rounds instead of 3 rounds. But man, this is a super close fight if you ask me. I mean, on the feet, I think Rob Font has some of the best boxing in the UFC. I mean, his jab is so crisp. He throws nasty combinations off the jab. He rips the body, comes back to the head. Long combos. He has a real nice high guard. He keeps the distance well. And he just has super fast hands, precise, sharp. He has great footwork. I mean, the guy's a fucking beast. I'm a big fan of Rob Font. And he's a big guy for the division. He has pretty long reach. And he has big knockout power. He has some of the biggest power in his hands in the division. Maybe the knockouts haven't been materializing for him recently, but he definitely has the power. I mean, the guy has a real nice check, left hook, right uppercut combo. He does a great job with the leg kicks, front kicks, round kicks. I mean, he has good knees. He mixes it up well. He isn't just a boxer. I'm a big fan of Rob Font. He does a good job early in fights. He'll try to mix in takedowns. He actually took down Jose Aldo, which isn't easy to do. Took his back. And, he has decent level changes, decent clinch game. And he's a good fighter, man. I mean, the guy's just an elite boxer, throws a lot of volume, real good hand combinations, elite speed, good power. He can wrestle, he could kick. And, just the things that kind of Rob Font struggles with is just sometimes his durability just isn't there for him. Like, he can survive the shots. And, I believe he's never been finished by strikes or been finished in general in his entire career. But we have seen him hurt by punches and then choked out against Pedro Munoz. We saw him get dropped several times against Jose Aldo. He didn't take the power very well against John Lineker. So power punchers are something that has given Rob Font some issues. Also, guys that kick his legs, that's something that I think Marlon Chito Vera is going to be looking to do early and often in this fight, and that's going to pay dividends over 5 rounds is the leg kicks. And so I think that those two things are things that Rob Font struggles with, but he throws an elite amount of volume out there, has great cardio, and I do think that he's built for 5 rounds himself. I mean, he went out there and did well in the 5th round after getting battered. I mean, dropped several times. So his cardio is good. I mean, he definitely is good. He showed great cardio against Cody Garbrandt 5 rounds, great cardio against Jose Aldo 5 rounds, and he has that experience back-to-back times now, being in the main event, going a full 5. Chito Vera has never felt that, but Chito Vera, he's a guy that I don't think is going to be very fazed by going 2 extra rounds. I think he'll love that, and I think he's going to be able to push the pace high. He has a undying will, and just the guy just has great heart and will to win himself. Chito, he's more of a straight Muay Thai style. He likes to walk guys down. He's a little bit slower, plottier than Rob Font, but he rips the legs with heavy kicks, rips the body with front kicks, round kicks. He likes to get in the clinch and work elbows, work knees. He does everything he can to kind of slow you down, get you tired, get you to stand in the phone booth with him, and that's where he thrives. I mean, the guy has a great chin, and he's willing to give damage to take damage. He has not high-end power in his hands, but he'll throw elbows, he'll throw knees, he'll throw kicks, and just breaks guys down, and eventually they start to get tired. He'll get him in the clinch and start raining knees or something and hurt him and get him out of there, or he'll get him hurt and get him to the ground, submit him, catch him in a scramble, and take him out. And that's Chito's game. I mean, the guy just breaks fighters down and then finishes them late. He does tend to start slow, lose rounds early, and then kind of pick up the pace as the fight goes on. So that's why probably these 5 rounds are a godsend for him. But Chito, is very hittable. He stands upright, so he can be taken down fairly easily. And plotty guy. So, I mean, I do think Rob Font has much more speed, much better hand combinations, better boxing, better technical striking by a fairly large margin. He throws more volume. But it's just going to come down to if Chito could wear him down with those heavy kicks and, get him to start standing with them in closer range. And I think Chito's the more durable guy. And he could break Font, hurt Font, and take him out. So that's going to be what Chito's going to be looking to do. I think Chito is the more dangerous submission artist and grappler. But I don't think he necessarily has the ability to take down Rob Font. I think Rob Font's the better wrestler, and Rob Font could even take down Chito and hold Chito down. I think that will be part of Font's game plan early in the fight to get takedowns, maybe get Chito thinking about the takedown, get Chito tired, and then start to open up the boxing as the fight goes on. And I would imagine, I don't know where people's mindsets are on this fight. That's why I'm curious and, said that I'm going to be saying, giving that prize for next week of my free Patreon package, because I want to know what your guys' opinion is on this main event. Who you think's going to win? How you think they're going to win? How many strikes you think are going to be landing in this fight? Is it going to be a war? You know, I think Marlon is a little bit more diverse, but I think Rob's a little bit better in what he does. And I think Rob is going to get the win by decision. So I'm going to go with Rob Font, and I'm going to pick him to pick up the W in this one, just with superior striking, superior boxing, a little bit more power, being a little bit sharper, technical, better defensively, maybe mixing in some takedowns, having that 5-round experience, and going to go with the Rob Font here, but wouldn't be surprised at all if Cheeto broke him and took him out. Font's getting up there now. He's almost 35. Cheeto's getting into his prime, 29 years old. He's on a run right now. And, yeah, one guy is going to have to lose, and I'm going to go with Rob Font to get the win, but I do think this is a razor-thin fight. So there's the full card breakdown for UFC Vegas 53, UFC Fight Night, Rob Font versus Marlon Vera. For my most confident pick of the night, I'm going to go with Alexander Romanov. And for the parlay of the week, I'm going to go with Andre Fili and Natan Levy. So thanks for watching, guys. Let's try to run up the likes on this video, run up the comments on this video. Really appreciate it. If you like me getting out these videos early on a Monday, let me know that too in the comments, and I'll try to continue to do that. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will be back next